Spirituality. There is another thing that is very prevalent in your world, and that is something that we would like to address as far as Datre is concerned. People are interested in the Datre material and all of these other different types of information that are given to you that are not religion related. You know all the churches and what is being taught in the individual churches. However, you have other information that is coming through your channels that is being given to the people on your planet and that has always been referred to as spiritual. It is that which is left over from the time when all of this type of information was being communicated, back in what you call the 1800s. They thought that they were communicating with the spirits of the dead, which were in heaven. This is a direct result of your strong belief that you are your body, and when you die, only your spirit exists. Families wanted to know if the dead were all right and could they help those still in the life zone. Many times, for the protection of different individuals, they would start a church. At that time, much of this was church-related. It was thought of as being spiritual. You have moved into a new millennium, and as far as Datre is concerned, as a whole, we do not look at the information that we are giving to you as being spiritual. What we are trying to do is give you information so that you will understand more about the working of you on your planet as an individual for your individual evolution. This information is as we perceive it, from our perspective. The belief system has been, consistently, that any of this information from any channel is spiritual. It has become such a solid belief by anyone hearing anything that comes through a channel that immediately it has to be spiritual information. We would like to set the record straight as far as we in Datre are concerned. We do not look at the information that we are giving you in any way as being spiritual. It is nothing more or less than explaining to you, to some degree and from our perspective, how the human body works in what you call your everyday physicality. Remember, that which you call spirituality has always been related to your churches because that is where the term comes from. It started with your churches. It started with your concept of God and the angels and all of the rest of that. The information that we channel has nothing to do with spirituality whatsoever. There are numerous amounts of channels that are bringing through information that has nothing to do with a church or a similar belief system or any of that information that is so prevalent. Slowly over the last few decades, more and more peoples believed in that which you now refer to as reincarnation. Spirituality itself is nothing but a belief. There is no such thing as spirituality. Spirituality is nothing really in and of itself, but one of your strong beliefs recorded in mass consciousness. It is a belief that anything that is out of the ordinary and outside of physicality has to be spiritual. From Datre's point of view, those that channel from the dead zone we don't look at as being spiritual either. As we perceive it, spirituality is only a term to say that it was spiritual and coming from heaven or paradise, and that gained the attention. This belief has been throughout your last millennium. All we're saying is that when you read Datre, put your belief system aside in regards to spirituality. Read the book as information that we are intending to put out in a very simplified manner. It is information to help you in your evolution of your individual self. Spirituality is no more than a legal means of getting recognized by the government as a functioning church with all the appropriate status and benefits. You don't have to have any kind of special education. You don't have to go to a seminary. You don't have to be ordained. You don't have to have any of that kind of thing. You just simply declare yourself as such and so, and you are a spiritual church, and this is your organizational setup and so forth. That is sent in for recognition by the IRS, which is the U.S. government. They send you back a tax number and you are now legally a church in the United States. And probably a similar process in other countries. Then you can perform marriages and all that kind of thing. Since you are a different kind of religious organization, you have to provide some guidelines as to what your organization is all about. All of the benefits that any other church has, you now have. And the people that do that, by and large, are all channels of one type or another. That is the only reason to put one together. The church idea is to give a channel legitimacy so that they can possibly make a living off of being a channel. That's what spiritual churches are all about. Beliefs and ego. Where did the ego come from? What were the stages of development of the ego? In the beginning, you had very rudimentary little bodies that you were playing with, and these little bodies interacted with each other. Due to the energy patterns of these little bodies, they would be attracted or repelled by other little bodies. More individual bodies became interested in playing with you, like children in a sandlot. You had little kids coming to play the game of baseball or whatever. They want to come and join in on the game. As you had more of these other individuals that were playing in the same game that you were playing in, you began to form a belief system. As an example, you see a certain pattern of an individual, then you remember that pattern. Say, like the jetting chin, or the ears that don't have earlobes, or other different physical features that were being recognized. You see this individual has that feature of a jetting chin. This individual with a jetting chin is a very determined individual. The next time you see somebody with a jetting chin, you think, oh, there's another one. Then you discover that individual is also a very determined individual. The next thing you know, you've probably seen 5 or 6 individuals with a jetting chin, so you say, that's a characteristic. If you've seen someone with a jetting chin, it is a very determined individual. A new belief is formed in your physical system. You see individuals whose eyes are close together, then you see another individual with eyes that are close together, then another individual whose eyes are very close together. Oh, all those individuals have the same characteristic. There is another belief that goes into your physical construct. As this became more and more evident that the little figures were beginning to grow, both physically and mentally, they needed some way of remembering these different beliefs. They were getting to a point of confusion, and they were getting many things mixed up. At this point of development, all that their bodies had was a brain. The brain is a storage system. As with all storage systems, it has only a basic capacity for organization. It didn't take very long before the brain was unable to relate the desired beliefs to the appropriate condition. Your creator core self started communicating with other creator core selves and saying, really, we need something to help this situation out. So they said, all right, let's do something here. Let's have a containment for the belief systems. This would be for the belief of individual body characteristics. They said, well, that's very simple. We'll just do like we did with the particles. We took all the particles and put them together and formed an atom. We don't have to have anything to that extent, but by using the same principle, we'll take the individual characteristic beliefs and put them in an arbitrary containment and call it an ego. The more that you began to work with the ego, you could see the development of these little humans. As this began to take place, this is where your place came into being. Where others would set up the place for you and you would act them out with other individuals. We talked about that previously. The only thing is, those plays didn't always fit your belief system or your emotional system. You said, we really are getting tired of having all these other people arbitrarily setting these plays up for us. We feel manipulated. Let us do our own plays. If you're going to do your own plays, go ahead and see how it works. It was utter chaos because you still had no way of being able to pick up plays and parts of plays that you wanted. As these little bodies became more and more developed, it became more and more necessary to make a connection with your plays. With the consciousness containing all of the possibilities and probabilities that you could use to make your own plays, you needed some way of getting that information into the very structure of these little physical constructs. There was a meeting of the creator core selves. The meeting will now come to order. What are we going to do, and how can we make a connection so that we can get this information from the possibilities and probabilities that reside in the consciousness where the dreamer you is? How can that information get into these little physical constructs? What we have called the egoic self is that part of the dreamer you that recognizes itself as itself. The easiest way to do that is to form another vehicle, if you want to call it that, similar to consciousness, that could reside both inside and outside the body, like the consciousness does, but still be a bridge, a disseminator, a helper, because the dreamer you just presents it and the consciousness within the bodies just receives it. Something has to be an organizer. We'll invent something, some sort of a bridge between the two, and we will give it a great deal of dynamics so that you can really understand a basic possibility or probability which initially doesn't seem to contain much information, just a bunch of stuff. Something that will take a possibility or probability that looks like what this particular physical construct is looking for, but doesn't know how to find. We'll put part of it in the dreamer you and part of it in the body, and we'll call that psyche. The psyche part of the dreamer you on the outside of the body will communicate with the psyche on the inside of the body. Then in that way, while knowing some of the intent or purpose of the physical construct, it will help the dreamer you on the outside of the body pick from your possibilities and probabilities. One which at this point seems best able to portray that which is wanted in your play. The psyche inside and outside of the body, like the consciousness inside and outside, will work together and help you in your decision to achieve that which you wish to achieve. By this time you had gained an intent and purpose. The inside psyche working with you in the physical construct and the possibilities and probabilities would try and figure out the best way to achieve your intent and purpose in physicality. The ego, which is a container of the beliefs that you express as you in the physical, is working directly with the psyche inside the body. The ego is what projects you as an actor in your play. It uses the psyche and uses the belief system in the physical construct to project to the outside world the you that is being projected in your play. In order to achieve that which you wish to achieve in this particular lifetime. The ego is the portion of you that deals directly with this particular life that you are living in physicality. This is a special portion of your identity. It is also very adaptable, so as your play evolves, your individual expression evolves. This is due to the interaction of the ego within the physical construct, to your personal outside world. The ego is the glue that holds day-to-day experiences together to make and express you in your play. You often believe that even one's emotional reactions to events are surely determined by one's personality. That is not true. You see, you talk of personality as if you have just one. You have more personalities than you'll ever begin to explore. You have many, many, many personalities. They'll say, he certainly has an obnoxious personality. The obnoxious personality is the dominant one. That's what they're seeing. They will see another person that always has such a happy-go-lucky appearance. That's the personality they're seeing. You have multiple personalities. If you don't like the personality that you're exhibiting at the present time, say to that personality, would you please go and leave me alone for a while? I'd like to have another personality come in for my expression. If you do that, with intent and purpose, instead of just gibbering, like saying something rote, but really mean it, that personality will change. Then just go about your business. You will feel a click, a shift, and an observer will discover another personality expressing in your physical construct. There again, that takes knowing where you are and knowing what you want, and changing that which you are not comfortable with. You don't look at your personalities, you react as them. You don't observe them. See, there are little cues all the way along the line. Those are the ones that begin to be fun. Those are the ones that change your life experience. There is so much more to this physical construct than you have any idea. There are some things that a belief system will very easily take care of. There are other things that it doesn't take care of that easily. Like we've said before, the body needs to be trained. The body needs to be taught. How quickly the whole physiological structure that you call your body can be changed depends on how soon you do something. There are very deep-seated beliefs within that which you call your belief structure. The majority of the people on this planet feel pushed and pulled in many different directions. If they are only listening from the outside, they are confused and uncomfortable. You are constantly giving yourselves messages on the inside and trying to make them conform to the messages you are receiving from the outside. The messages you receive from the inside are very simple and uncomplicated. The messages you receive from the outside are funneled through your belief system. What most do not realize is one of the biggest influences on your belief system is the ego. The ego says, I want what I want when I want it. The ego colors your belief systems. If you were to get paint on your body, when you were painting, you would not be concerned because you know you can wash it off. The painter who gets paint on themselves and thinks that the paint is part of them is a painter who cannot see themselves as they truly are. The ego is the paint that colors your belief system. As many times as it is pointed out that the ego is coloring the belief system, that is the most difficult to discern. This is one of the reasons the inside information is adjusted to match the outside information. It is difficult to discover because it has become so much a part of your beingness. From the beginning of your humanity, little by little, the ego is expressing through the everyday interaction with the mass of humanity. The information that you carry with you through your body's genes is passed on to other generations, colored by ego. Allow your inside messages and outside messages to be viewed as clearly as possible. Don't try and make them conform, analyze them separately, and become comfortable with your decision.